Close the doors of your mind. Close the gates of your mind. Close the gates of your palace, your Mikdash, your Mikdash, your Ahal. Sit at the gate and the door of your Ahal and be ready to receive the bar of Yahuwah Elohim, his son Yahusha, as he comes. And he said, you waiting at his feet, waiting at the front of your tent to serve, to be a shifka, to be a bod for him, that he may hide pride from you. For Yahuwah speaketh once, yea twice, yet man and woman, male and female, Zakar Nakabar perceiveth it not. For today is a day of freedom, today is a day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as another Shabath, that we may cease from our labors, that we may cease from our own selfish self, that we may ride upon the high places, upon the Kanaf Ruach, that we may feed us with our Akla, a call, that we may walk in righteousness, in the Or and Sadiq and Sadaqah, continually, as we live in this world. So today is the day that we acknowledge the one who made all the heart of the earth, all the nahar of the earth, all the rivers and streams, all the things that we see with our natural sight, with our ayin, with our two eyes, that we may hear with our two ears, our left and our right ear, that we may see and understand, that we may eat. He said, Yahuwah provides the things that we can to consume with our teeth, with our shin. But yet we have another part of ourselves that can consume things. And he said, does not the ear taste of the bar as the mouth tastes the food, as our tongue, as we taste, taste and see that Yahuwah is good and you are evil. So today we walk in righteousness, knowing that his thoughts are higher than our thoughts and his ways are higher than our ways. And we should live according to his ways and his thoughts and not our own. For as we walk in our own ways and our own thoughts, we destroy everything around us. Not only everything around us, but we destroy each other. We destroy the earth. So this is the book of Matthew, or go to your Ukanan. This is the book of your Ukanan, chapter 15. Ukanan chapter 15 and verse 1. Ukanan chapter 15 and verse 1. It says, I am the true vine, and my father is the vine dresser. He said, my father is the vine dresser. I'm the true vine. He said, my father is the vine dresser. Why? Just like how you have a person who shapes and molds and prunes a tree. If you ever grown a grapevine or a muscadine vine, you will have to cut leaves and branches off so it can bear more fruit. So just like the father is the head of a family, a son, he prunes and he disciplines his son. But he's comparing it to a very thing that people love to eat, consume, make wine out of, enjoy the grapes and the seeds that come with, seeded grapes and seeded muscadine. So he's using that as an analogy to people who love to eat things. Verse 2, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does not bear fruit, he prunes. Why? Because there's only one vine. He's saying that if you don't do anything, if you don't produce anything, Yahuwah looks at you like something worthless on his son or in his son. Now we talk about the fruits of the Ruach. We talk about the gifts of the body, the Ba'ith. If you ain't doing nothing, he conceives you as something that is a worthless thing to have attached to his son. And he says that it may bear more fruit because you're holding up the rest of the body so they can bear fruit more because of you. So Yahuwah says, I have to get rid of you in order for that to happen. And it says, already you are clean by the bar that I've spoken to you. Why? Abide in me and I in you, as a branch cannot bear fruit by itself. You can't. You got to be attached to Yahushua Mashiach. You got to be attached to the understanding that he can't bear no fruit without you. Without you. Neither can you unless you abide in me. There's nothing you can do about it. And guess what it says? I am the vine, you are the branches. Whosoever abides in me and I in him, he or she is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. So what can you do apart from being attached to Yahushua Mashiach? Absolutely nothing. right? Absolutely nothing, right? So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 1. Marshally Proverbs 20 and verse 1. Marshally Proverbs 20 and verse 1. He said, you can't do nothing unless you abide and you attach to me. This Marshally Proverbs 21. It says, wine is a mocker. Strong drink is a brawler. Whoever is led astray by it is not wise. You're not kakam. You don't have no hakma. You're led astray by your drinking habits, by being drunk with the cares of this life. You're led astray by being drunk with literal wine that's made from a vine. Because you make actual wine from a vine. So you think Yahusha died so you can make wine and get drunk from his vine? And he says, the terror of the king is like the growling of a lion. So the terror of a ruler is like the growling of a lion. You ever heard a lion growl? No. Most people ain't never heard a lion growl because he said either they've never seen one, never got close up to one, or never seen a lion actually angry, an Ari. You never seen one. But guess what? Whosoever provokes him to anger forfeits his life. So if you provoke this Ari, to this ruler, to anger, you're going to forfeit your life. Which means you need to be really afraid. Very afraid. Why? Because when Yahuwah off, because you have the same thing in you, but guess what? When Yahuwah gets off, it becomes something that you should be understanding. You're going to forfeit your life if you provoke him to anger. Let's see. It is an honor for a man to keep aloof from strife. He said it's an honor. Why? Because strife is auto-leave. Strife is like the demon auto-leave. Matter of fact, strife creates other behaviors in other people, which in turn creates stagnation. How you say it? These are all dead branches. These are all branches that Yahuwah says are, you provoke him to anger and you got strife. These are all works of the flesh. These are the things that Yahuwah doesn't want on his branch. On his vine thing. He don't want it there. So he says, I have to get rid of you. Because you're hindering the rest of the vine from bearing fruit. So therefore, you have to go. Or that behavior on the inside of you has to go. And I have to address it with my anger, like a roaring of a lion. I don't like strife. Right? But every fool will be quarreling. Why? Every fool that wants their branch to be cut off from Yahushua Mashiach will keep on quarreling. Because eventually Yahuwah says, I'm going to take and cut you off. And that fool says, I'm going to keep doing it. Verse 4, the sluggard, guess what? This verse 4, the sluggard does not plow in autumn. That's what we're in now. You know why? They're not going to try to get rid of their quarreling and their strife. And they are sluggards. You are a slow-minded human being. Why? Because slow-minded people cannot do certain things. It says, you don't plow in autumn. He will seek at harvest and have nothing. You know why? Because you're so focused on your strife and your quarreling, and you will seek at harvest and have nothing. He said that's the only thing you'll be seeking after. And you won't have anything. Because you'll be focused on your strife and your quarreling, and then Galatians chapter 5 will be talking about you. You will not enter the Malkuth, and he will cut your branch off. The purpose in a man's heart is like deep water. It's like deep water too. But guess what? But a man of understanding will draw it out. The purpose in a man's heart, or Adam's heart, male and female's heart, is like deep water. But a man of understanding will draw it out. Why? Because this is all a part of it. This is why we start there. Because everything happens for a reason. And reason being, people are doing certain things, right? But at the same time, you say, we are doing certain things. An-aknu darash, right? An-aknu darak, right? Ki-na, that's what we're doing, right? This is Psalms chapter 3, verse 1. O Yahuwah, how many are my foes? Why would you have foes? Now you see why Yahushua like, I am the vine. You can't do nothing without me, but these people with strife and quarreling, O Yahuwah, how many are my foes? He's like, how many branches on me got to get cut off, Yahuwah? That's literally what he's saying. How many branches got to be cut off? How many of these people how these branches got to be cut off? Many are rising against me. And he's like, man, look at all this strife and quarreling. Who you think you're rising against when you do that? In the body of Yahushua Mashiach, or attached to the vine, or just attached to somebody in general. And then you stir up the anger, the roar of a lion, and then now you're looking crazy. And the people say, why he getting upset? It says, many are saying of my soul, there is no salvation for him in Elohim. You know why? Because that's called quarreling and strife. You know, we ever seen people quarrel and strife? And you see it, the debates, and you see it, and next thing you know that something happened, and next thing you know they saying, you ain't gonna get no salvation, it's impossible, right? They start saying all these things out of their mouth. They start saying, ain't no salvation for that person ain't never getting in, right? They start saying all these things. I hope your mind scrambles, right? When you lead their ministry, I hope your mind scrambles when you try to help people. I hope you never get no salvation. Retain your sin, all this crazy stuff that they say out of their mouth. You know why? O Yahuwah, how many are my foes? Many rise against me. Many are saying to my soul, there is no salvation for him in Elohim. That's what strife and quarreling does. But you, O Yahuwah, are a shield about me. And this is how Yahushua thinks about himself when he sees all that attached to his body. Yahushua ain't thinking like you. Yahushua like, they say ain't no salvation for me. Because he said, you're all a cod, right? But then he says, oh, you're attached to me, but you're saying ain't no salvation for me. So what does that mean for you? If Yahushua not going to get salvation, we all immersing him. If he ain't getting none, so what does that mean for you? You saying that somebody else attached ain't going to get no salvation. You saying, yeah, so you saying my arm ain't going to get salvation today. Or my back, my lower back and my foot is not going to get salvation. My rib, my selah not getting salvation. So you saying all that? So all this is a part of it. My body not getting salvation? We just read about in Noach when he made an ark. He said that all those who are with you in your house, and they are all the animals and the creatures that are with you in the ark, shall be saved. Verse 3, but you, O Yahuwah, are a shield about me, my kabod, and the lifter of my head. My what? This is the word for Psalms 3 and 3, the word for head. Psalms 3 and 3, that word for head is Rosh. Is Rosh. He said, you are the lifter of my Rosh. That means what? The head. Whether literally, right? He said, you're the lifter of my Rosh, which is what letter of the alphabet? The 20th letter of the alphabet, which equals to 2. The Rosh is the head. And you know what happens after when you get the Rosh upset? He roars like an Ari. When his anger gets roused. And guess what? You are the lifter of my Rosh. I cry aloud to Yahuwah, and he answered me from his Chdsh hill. I lay down and slept, and I woke again, for Yahuwah sustained me. Right? That's what we do every day. He said that the son is like a bridegroom leaving his chamber in the Psalms 19. He said, you sustain me during the night. And guess what he said? I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. So Yahushua said, even though all you millions and billions, thousands of people that's attached to him and feel like you are part of his body, cells, cell membrane, arms, legs, eyes, all these things, right? All that quarreling and strife you have, and you all quarreling and strife, he said, all that, you're setting yourself against me. And you know what? He said, Yahushua said, I ain't scared of none of y'all. I'm not afraid of not one of you. Right? That's the same thing in each in the household. He said, I'm not afraid of not one of you. He says, I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. So how many people you think doing that? Arise, O Yahuwah, and save me, O my Elohim. So you see, he ain't trusting y'all. He's like, arise, another person, and save me. No. Who you gonna save you when that type of stuff happens? When Yahushua was on totality on the cross in Matthew 27, he was above the people. Look at all them thousands of people that set themselves against him. And he looked at him, my bone and my flesh. Look at them. Look at all the thousands of people that set themselves against him. And you know what he said? Ma Elohim, Ma Elohim. You weren't crying to them. Why hast thou forsaken me? Why you leave me down here with these people? Forsake you all, it says, for you strike all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. You know what happens when you break the teeth? You know how you say the shin, right? You know how when you break the teeth? He said, why would you break the teeth? Because that word for teeth is shun, tooth. Why would you break the teeth of the wicked? Why would Yahuwah do that? He said, I'm gonna break your teeth of the wicked. Why would he do that? Right, this book of Hebrews, we come back there. I ain't even going here, right? This book of Hebrews. People say they know. They don't. Right, this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 6. Actually, Hebrews chapter 5, verse 11. Hebrews 8, chapter 5, verse 11. This is why he's going to break the teeth of the wicked. Shin. Hebrews chapter 5, verse 11. About this we have much to say, and it's hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. He said, your hearing has become dumb. He said, keep on hearing and do not hear. Keep on seeing and do not see. Lest you hear with your eyes and see with your ears and understand with your heart, and you be converted, and I will heal you. Verse 12. For though by the time you ought to be teachers, you should be a teacher, male and female. You should be able to teach something. You need someone to teach you again. You need somebody to instruct you again. The basic principles of the oracles of Elohim. You need milk and not solid food. How you gonna get back to solid food? How are you gonna eat solid food when your teeth broken? When Yahuwah break your teeth, and guess what? Your shin, because that's the 21st letter of the alphabet. He breaks your shin, and then guess what? You ain't gonna be able to eat anymore because you got quarrel and strife. And guess what he gonna do? He gonna take you back the basic principle of oracles of Elohim. You need milk and not solid food because you can't. Your teeth broke. You gotta wait for them to grow back. And that means what that requires? Patience. Oh, you mean fruits of the Ruach. So Yahuwah got, in order for some people to get the actual patience that they need, Yahuwah got to break your teeth. I got to break your tooth in order for you to get it. And some people need that. In order for their teeth to be breaking, you gotta have patience, get that patient fruit back, so they can grow up to salvation, so they can get the actual understanding of it. Some people need that. And some people don't. You just don't want to be the person that don't. That he said, you don't want to be that person. You're going to be walking around with no teeth. All the stuff that people done did, quarreling and fighting. He's like, yeah, you know what? Y'all shouldn't even have no teeth. But guess what he said? For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness. Why? Because your teeth broke. You wicked. And guess what? Since he is a child, what child? When a child born, the child don't got no teeth. The mother gotta nurse him, gotta hold him. She gotta give him a spoon, and he be spitting it up. He don't even know what to say, right? You gotta go back to being a child again. That's what happens when you become wicked and you attach to Yahushua Mashiach. He said, I gotta break your teeth, your shin, because you got the Rosh upset. And he said, you know what he said? I'm gonna smack you on the cheek. He said, I'm gonna smack you on the cheek. Why do you think they punch Yahushua in the side of the face? They knocked out his teeth. Because that's the same thing that should happen to you. You should get your teeth knocked out when Yahuwah smack you in the head after you get them upset because you wicked. And guess what it says? Since he is a child, but solid food is for the mature, those who ain't wicked, who got their shin and ain't got their teeth broken. That's what solid food for. For those who mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish between good and rash, or taub and rash, good and evil. This is how you understand be not hamada'ah, your inward man. This is how you understand spiritual rebuke. Like, I'm not going to literally go and smack somebody in the face and knock out their teeth. That's all physical. No, Yahuwah does it with his debar. I'll smack you in the face and you're a ruach man. Right, this is Proverbs chapter 3, and going back to Proverbs chapter 3. Actually, sorry, yeah. Going back to mostly Proverbs. Where is it? Yeah. I'll get back. Yeah, going to Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1. Going to Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1. Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1. Mostly Proverbs 15 and 1. A soft answer turns away wrath. Right? Because when you see the anger of a ruler, when you see the anger of a lion, Ari comes, a soft answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouths of fools pour out folly. You know what happens when you pour out folly? You get smacked in the cheek and Yahuwah knock out your teeth, your shin, and you go back to being a child again. You need one to teach you again to be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim. And you have need of milk and not strong food. For those things, the solid food is for the mature, who are able to discern within themselves the good and evil behaviors they have and not to be allowed to bring forth in their carnal nature in the flesh. Verse 3, the eyes of Yahuwah are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good. Right? And that's how it is. And that's how you need to discern between good and evil within yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself your teeth knocked out. And then you're going to find yourself back to being a child again, need to be taught again. And you ain't going to be able to discern between good and evil. And then Yahuwah got to take you back to being a child again because your shin got knocked out. And guess what? A gentle tongue is a tree of life. Why? It's a tree of life. You think Yahuwah wants to go smacking people in the face on the side of their cheek and knocking out their teeth? No, he don't want to do that. But how do you get a gentle tongue? Mature. I'm a very mature individual. So therefore, being that I'm a mature individual, so therefore, I don't have to be in a certain state of mind and I have control of my emotions, even though I want to react, but I can't. Because, you know why? Because I have maturity in myself now, and to where now, that area of my life where I was lacking maturity, now Yahuwah has smacked me in the cheek about 5, 15, 35, 144 times. So then now you learn not to say anything. And you learn not to open your mouth and say rash words out of your mouth and against the Rosh, because you're doing it against Yahushua Mashiach when you do it. And then you'll find yourself in nice and tranquility and gentle tongue, and then you won't be like that anymore. And you won't need nobody to teach you again. And then you'll be able to go on into maturity and mature manhood like we need to, right? And that's how it works. But it takes time. Just like any other thing in life. It says, a gentle tongue is a tree of life. That's what the tree of life is. You may partake of the tree of life. If you eat from a tree, you know how you consume food? The more you eat the food, it will become you. So, in order for Yahuwah to allow you to take from the tree of life, you have to become mature enough to take from it. Because Adam and Kawua was not mature when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And after that, they were just saying and doing things all erratic. And then by the time Yahuwah was like, man, they're going to take from the tree of life. Man, they can't eat from that. They got to go through some things. No. They're not going to do that. They're not ready for that. Just like today, right? A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the ruach. Now you see why he won't let them eat from it. And that's why he ain't going to let you eat from it. He's going to knock out your teeth too. Because solid food for them who are mature. He was like, I'm not letting you eat from that. Because you say you perverse. A fool despises his father's instructions. This is how we get to the point. This is how you get there. But whosoever heeds reproof is prudent. Why? Because that's a part of it. Because if we don't heed that reproof, then you'll find yourself repeating the same thing over and over again, because the energy gonna come back. Like we go through the cycle, the 364-day cycle, whatever energy you put out during a certain time period, you're gonna pass through that thing again and again and again till the tree die. And you're gonna feel it too. You're gonna feel the turbulence. You're gonna feel the turbulence within yourself. You're gonna feel the turbulence within your heart. You're gonna feel the turbulence within your heart and your mind. And you're gonna find yourself like, man, what just happened? He said, because of all the stuff you done did in the cycles. And it's gonna come back up, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, right? So this is the book of Proverbs, going to the book of Proverbs. Mostly Proverbs. Actually, go to the book of Psalms. Go to the book of Psalms. Psalm chapter 3, verse 6. Psalm chapter 3, verse 6. Psalms chapter 3, verse 6. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves all around against me all around. Arise, O Yahuwah, save me, O my Elohim, for you strike on all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs to Yahuwah. Your Barak be on your people, Selah. Because salvation do belong to you. Yahushua died, rose, and ascended. You got immersed. And guess what? It belongs to you. People say it don't. Yes, it do. But then at the same time, sometimes your teeth got to be broke. You got to lose all ability to eat properly. Then you have to depend on somebody to help you eat properly. And then you become mature again. Because if you don't, it becomes he say a very unpleasant thing, right? You go in the book of Matthew chapter 18 and verse 1. Matthew chapter 18 and verse 1. At that time, the disciples came to Yahushua saying, who is the greatest in the Malkuth of Shamy'ny? And calling to him a child, he said, with no teeth. With no teeth, no shin. And the child didn't have to get his teeth knocked out either. He said, this is a little child. He just starting out. He says, he put him in the midst of them and said, truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom Malkuth of Shamy'n. He said, you ain't getting in. Which means that he put a child who ain't never had to get his teeth knocked out. But then he was talking to his older adult people. He said, if you don't humble yourself, be Anua, Sana, he said, Kana, Shafal, and become like a child that can be taught, then I'm going to have to smack you on your cheek and knock your teeth out. That's literally what he just said. He was talking to Koph, Peter, Bartholomew, Nicodemus, all of them. All these people that he came with, he said, I'm just going to knock your teeth out. Because you ain't going to want to, I'm going to smack you on the cheek, and then you're going to lose your shin, and then you're going to be able to be taught again. Because I'm the vine, my father the vine dresser. Every branch of me that don't bear fruit, he prunes. Which means something going to happen to you. Never enter the kingdom, but whosoever humbles himself, Anua, Kana, Sana, Shafal, like this child is greatest in the kingdom of Shamy'n. Whosoever receives one such child in my name receives me, but whosoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Why? You don't cause a person to start having strife, quarreling, hatred, jealousy, envy. You immature adult. So he's saying, so you've literally caused all the children to turn into beings like you. How old are they? Man, only 8, 12, 15. They all like you. They should be humble little children, like 3-year-olds, who never had any of this stuff taught to them, who can absorb it and produce the fruit in the world. But no, you taught them your ways and your thoughts. You taught them your ways and your thoughts, and they mimicked you. And now they're operating just like you. And you know what it says, verse 7. Woe to the world for temptations to sin. For it is necessary that temptations come, but woe to the one whom the temptations come. Woe to you. Right? Why? That's all important, right? That's all important, right? So this wisdom, Hakmah Shalish Shaluma, wisdom of Solomon 6, 12 through 25. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, 12 through 25. It says, Hakmah Kaham is glorious and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. Wisdom, Hakmah. She preventeth them that desire her in making herself first known unto them. Whoso seeketh her early shall have no great travail, for he shall find her sitting at his or her doors, right at the doors of your mind. Why? You'll be able to speak and understand. You'll be able to speak with Hakmah and wisdom in a gentle tongue. You won't have no strife or no quarreling in your life, in your heart, in your mind. You will have a life of shalom, just by the way you speak. But we're going to change it. To think thereupon her is perfection of wisdom. And whoso watches for her shall quickly be without care. He said, man, I'm watching for her when he come in my mind. Why? For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably in the ways, and meeteth them in every single thought. Because that thought process of the shin and having your teeth and understanding solid food, you'll be able to take it in. And then by having that solid food within oneself, as both male and females, as a karnak abah, your inward man will be transformed, and your manure will be lit in your 7 near. And those 7 near will not only in the 7 periods and the 7 celestial circles will produce the actual fruit within oneself, that one may be able to yield the very things that they want to see in other people, in their household, in their family, in their husband, in their wife, in their children, in the people around, in their community. And by doing that, it'll allow those things to produce in your life. And you'll have a peaceful life, a shalom life. Even though Satan gonna try to mess up your peace, mess up your shalom, because even when you get on the mountain, he's gonna come with his crazy things that he does and try to mess it all up, because he doesn't like that stuff. I say humility and righteousness is the only thing that's gonna destroy him. That's the only thing. Becoming humble like a child. Because you know if Satan come inside of a person and you become humble like a child, and he comes and he make you sin, what do you think is gonna happen to you? Or the person that he inside that make you get to that point? Something gonna happen to him. Cause you knew Anua, Sana, Shafal. That's what's gonna happen. So it's a profitable thing to stay in that state. It protects you always from him. Cause he coming. And he ain't stopping. And people say, oh, he gonna stop. No, he's not. He's coming back. Verse 17, for the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline, right? That's the whole point. And the care of discipline is love, aha. That's the first fruit of the Ruach. We talk about him knocking your teeth out to get patience, because some people don't know, I ain't never had patience. Okay, boom, you need one to teach you again. And you'll lose your shin. And then by that, you get patience to wait for your teeth to grow back. You eat solid food again. That rhymes too. But it says, verse 18, and love is the keeping of her laws. You got to start with that. People say, aha, ahaba. Right? You got to start with that. Think about that. Right? And that's how it works. And giving heed to her laws is assurance of incorruption. Right? This mortal must put on immortality. This corruption must put on incorruption. You get assurance. Once you get Hakmah wisdom on the inside, that is assurance. You need it. You need wisdom, Hakmah, for incorruption. You need it for your transformation to go to the next phase in your life. You need it. And incorruption maketh us near unto Yahuwah. That's how you don't get close. It's important. Therefore, the desire of wisdom bringeth to the kingdom the Malkut. They're gonna bring you to the kingdom. If your delight be then in thrones and scepters, and O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom, Hakmah, that ye may reign forevermore. You can may have eternal life. That's male and female. Malka, Malak. As for wisdom, what she is and how she came up, I will tell you. And I will not hide mysteries from you, but will seek her out from the beginning of her nativity and bring the knowledge of her into light. It will not pass over the truth. Neither will I go with consuming envy. Right? He said, she's not going to go with consuming envy. Why? Because this is another thing that on the vine that Yahusha don't like. Because you know what consuming envy does? If it's attached to Yahusha Mashiach, it consumes the whole vine. You ever had grew a vine and you had that little retard cucumber on there, and then it spread to other ones, and then the whole vine get corrupted, and you got to tow the whole vine up because you got that one little thing on there that mess up the whole thing. Or you get disease on one part, you got to cut the tree and the branch, and then it goes to the rest. He said, every branch of me that doesn't bear good fruit, I cut it off. These are all part of the things that he cuts off. He said, I don't go at consuming envy. For such a man or woman shall have no fellowship with Hakmah. He said, no male and female. He said, you won't have it. You won't have no fellowship with it. He said, you won't have no fellowship with other people that have it. He says, but the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world. That's the multitude. The Harmon, Hakam, is the welfare of the world. It's the Rafah to the Arats, to the world. And a wise Malak king is the upholding of his people. Why? Because a wise king, when you get a wise king and program to anger, he's going to roar like an Ari. He's going to get angry. But guess what happens after that? Receive therefore instructions through my word. That's what he's going to do. He's going to roar like a lion, but he ain't going to have no, how you say, other things to say. He's going to have wisdom to come out of his mouth roaring like a lion. But the kakam going to come out of his mouth, but it's going to be like, this thing like a rushing mighty wind. He's like, this thing, because it's like going to be like a wise sayings coming out of his mouth as a roaring lion. But it's going to be wisdom coming out of his mouth. Receive therefore instructions through my words, and it shall do you good. Why? Because that's the whole point. I was, you was thinking, we went somewhere. We're going to go back there again. Right? So this is the book of Bereshit, Genesis. We're going back to Genesis, Bereshit. Sorry, yeah. 38. I can go to Bereshit, Genesis, go to 29 and 29 and 29 and actually 30. Go to 30 and 1. Bereshit 30 and 1. Genesis 30 and 1. Genesis 30 and 1. Genesis 30 and 1. It says, when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, or she saw Leah have 4 children, Reuben, Shamuan, Louis, and Yehuda. She said, when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, she envied her sister. She did what? She envied her sister. And consuming envy, he said, it don't dwell with any man or woman. They will have no fellowship with it. Wisdom will not be in your mind, in your heart. She envied her sister. And she said to Yaakov, give me children or I shall die. It has an exclamation point, which means she ain't say it like how you supposed to say it, with a gentle tone. She said it in her envious, jealous mindset towards someone else. So when somebody has envy and jealous for somebody outside of your household relationship, outside of themselves, outside of their heart and their mind for other people, right? It ain't just got to be a relationship or anything. It could be other things. You can be envious and jealous of somebody's career, of their money they have, the things that they own, the things that they're getting ready to have. You can be envious and jealous of anything. And then your speech changes. And you know what happens after that? She envied her sister, and Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel. Why? He started to get angry like the roaring of a lion. Because she was loud. His anger was kindled like the roaring of a lion. And you know what happens when the anger of a malak gets to the point where it's now roaring like a Ari? You know what happens? You'll see women or men get to the point where, and they just walk out. Even though it was all kindled by the envy and jealous of somebody else that they perceive that they have against somebody else, and then they'll use that as a manipulation tool. Oh, you got angry after I got angry, but it's your anger and your voice is only geared towards the envy of somebody else. And then now you create anger in another person because of your envious mindset. And by having that envy on the inside of you, you create anger in somebody else. And then guess what happens? Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in Elohim, in the place of Elohim? He said, am I Yahuwah himself? Who has withheld you from the fruit of the womb? He said, I ain't do nothing to you. I ain't do nothing to you. And he ain't said, let me guess. He said it with, who has held the wound from you? Right? After she yelled. No, he ain't said it like that. Then she said, here is my servant Bilhah. Go into her so that she may give birth to, on my behalf, that even I may have children through her. So her whole point of doing all of that was through envy. Envy made her angry of her sister, made her get Yaakov angry, and all it produces envy and anger, and then it produced go into this woman right here. But the whole thing was born through envy. Envy. Right, the book of Ecclesiastes. Qahalath. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 1. Ecclesiastes, Qahalath, chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, dead flies make perfume's ointment give off a stench. So a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. He said, because wisdom does not flow with consuming envy. And that little folly that she had, it outweighs wisdom and honor. It outweighs the hakmah, and the honor that she wanted from Yaakov. It outweighed it. That little folly. That's why consuming envy will have no fellowship with wisdom, because it outweighs it. It is a weight. It's heavy. A wise man's heart inclines him to the right, but a fool's heart to the left. He said, man, inclines to the right. But guess what it says? Even when a fool walks on the road, he lacks sense. He said, even when a fool, you lacking sense. And he or she says to everyone that he is a fool. If the anger of a ruler rises against you, what did Rachel do? Do not leave your place. Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel because of her envy towards somebody else And she raised her voice, and the anger of Yaakov was kindled. And you know how you kindle the anger inside of an ish, a man. Do that. You will kindle anger inside of a man. If an anger of a ruler rises against you, do not leave your place. Why? Because if you do that, then you know you leave your place. That anger that you kindled, that recall kindled in Yaakov, if she'd have left her place, that would have been total manipulation. And she was hiding the envy that she had towards another person. It'd be total manipulation because she didn't want to deal with the fact that you got envy with another person. So now you got envy for another person, and now you add another sin by manipulating somebody and driving them to anger. Now you got another sin. And then you leave, and then you keep on escalating it over and over again. Now you're at the point where now Yahuwah looking at you as an unprofitable branch in Yahushua Mashiach. All because of the behavior that one has towards somebody else. Do not leave your place, for calmness lays great offenses to rest. Why? Because that's what it does. That's what it does. Going back to 30 and 1, Bereshit chapter 30 and 1, Genesis chapter 30 and 1. When Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, he said she ain't have no child. She envied her sister, and she said to Yaakov, give me children or I shall die. Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in Elohim, in the place of Elohim? Who has withheld you from the fruit of the womb? Then she said, here is my servant Bilhah. Go into her so she may give birth on my behalf, that even I may have children through her. So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife, and Yaakov went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Yaakov a son. Then Rachel said, Elohim has judged me, and has also heard my voice and given me a son. He said, you judged me. You know why? She already knew. He said, yeah, Yahuwah has judged you right now. He said, I already did. He has judged me, and he gave me a what? He gave me a son. And guess what? Therefore, she called his name Dan. Why? Because that's what his name meant. Because she just got judged for the stuff she just did. You just got judged. How you know that? This Psalm 82:1. Psalms 82:1. Right? Because he just did it. Right? Psalm 82:1. Tahalim 82:1. And he said, how did he judge her? Right? And he just read it. He just did it. Psalm 82:1. Tahalim 82:1. Elohim has taken his place in the divine council, and in the midst of the gods he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Because you know what happens to the wicked? I'm going to knock your teeth out with the bar. And you know what happens after that? I'm going to make your shin go back. You need one to teach you again, would be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim, recall. So Yaakov's anger rose against her, and he judged her. Am I in Elohim's steed? Who is the one who actually made you not have a child? Right in your face. Because the anger of a ruler now risen against you. And now you just got rebuked. And Yahuwah judged right in the midst of the God. Yahuwah has judged me. He sure did. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the affliction and the destitute. Right? Going back to Bereshit 30 and 1. Bereshit 30 and 1. Genesis chapter 30 and verse 1. There's a moral to the story. Right? There's a moral to this whole thing. There is a moral to this whole thing. Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 30 and verse, going back to 30 and 4, 30 and 5. What's the thing keep doing this? 30 and 5. Yeah. 30 and 4. So he gave him her servant Bilhah the wife, and Yaakov went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore a son, Yaakov. Then Rachel said, Elohim has judged me, and he has heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again, and she bore Yaakov a son. Then Rachel said, with mighty wrestling I have wrestled with my sister and have prevailed. What do you mean wrestle with her sister? What you mean wrestle with her sister? She was wrestling with her sister. So she called his name Naphtali. She wrestled with her sister. No, that's not who she wrestled with, right? Right. She ain't wrestled. She wasn't wrestling with her sister, right? Going to the book of Ephesians. Going to the book of Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. She wasn't wrestling with her sister, because that's what in her mind, that's what she felt like she was, because her sister was there and she had a child and she was envious and it was producing these emotions and it produced anger and he got judged for it. And then she was wrestling with her sister? No. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 10. Finally be strong in Yahuwah and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of Elohim that you may be able to withstand against the schemes of Satan. She wasn't wrestling with her sister. She was wrestling with Satan. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. She was wrestling with Satan. See, because Leah is a flesh and blood human being. She was wrestling with Satan. I told you Satan coming back. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against rulers and authorities, against cosmic powers of this present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. What do you think she was wrestling with? She wasn't wrestling against her sister. She was wrestling against the evil rod that's inside of her heart and her mind. And she called his name Naphtali. He said, yeah. And guess what? Therefore, take on the whole armor of Elohim that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. That's the evil day. Think about that day that whole happened. Give me child lest I die. Hey, man, Yahuwah's steed. Right, that was all arguing. And then it went back and forth. Here's my servant Bilhah. Yahuwah has judged me. And then she's still wrestling with herself, even through the whole situation of giving her the child, giving her Bilhah. She's still wrestling with her herself the whole time, while he's creating children for her. Therefore, take on the whole armor of Elohim that you be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened your belt of truth. Because you need a month. Matter of fact, he said, the righteousness, the everlasting righteousness, that Torah is the truth. But Yahushua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the Torah. That's what he said. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the Torah. That right, the everlasting right. That's where you get everlasting life. His Hakmah and his Torah is the truth. And guess what he said? That you may be able to withstand from the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand firm. Stand having your belt fastened with truth, and put on the breastplate of righteousness. He said, put on the, amazingly, when you put on the breastplate with the 12 stones on the breastplate of your heart, what tribes are on there? How many stones? What son was Naphtali? What number was that? Number 6. Oh, that was the sixth child that was born. What's the sixth letter of the alphabet? Tent peg, cleave, right? Joined to, right? Secured. Oh, you're going to wrestle. You're going to wrestle against flesh and blood. Understand something. You need Naphtali. You need that. You need Naphtali. All that's a part of it. He said they come from what? Just your mental thought process. Matter of fact, that come from your Rosh, your mind. That's how you understand it. Therefore, take the whole armor of Elohim that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on readiness given by the truth of peace. until the child is born, until his son is given. And the Mimshala going to be upon his shoulders. The government. Right? And he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Shalom. You need it. In all circumstances, take on the shield of Amunah, with which you can extinguish the fiery darts of the evil one. Why? Because these are all fiery darts. What do you think Yaakov had with him when he fought? When she came at him with that loud voice because of her envy and jealousy. He had the shield of Amunah, and he quenched the fiery darts of the evil one that was inside of her. She was wrestling with. And take the helmet of salvation. Why? Because you need to protect your rosh, your mind. That's the 20th letter of the alphabet. Equals to 2. Abraku kanaf halak ruach. He said he ride upon he was seen ride on the clouds. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the ruach, which is the word of Elohim, praying at all times in the ruach with all prayer and supplication to that end, keeping alert with all perseverance, making supplications for all Chdshim, and also for me. All right, going back to Bereshit, we almost finished. Bereshit chapter 30. Bereshit chapter 30 and verse 13. Actually going to, 30 and 9. And when Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, right, she saw that she ceased. Because recall, he had used another person. When Leah saw that she ceased bearing, guess what she did? Bearing children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Yaakov as a wife. Hold up. When Leah saw that she was barren, she envied her sister. No. She didn't have no envy in her heart. Where was envy at? Where was the envy at? You know what she was doing? She was mimicking what her sister did. But she ain't had to do it. She was just mimicking what her sister did. She ain't had no envy. Did it say she envied her? No. He ain't envy her, right? And gave her Yaakov as a wife. And then Leah's servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, good fortune has come. So she called his name God. She's like, good fortune has come. She called his name God. He said, why would she do that? Because amazingly, what child is that? That's number 7. She said, good fortune has come to me. So she called his name God. Because you know what happens after that? He said, good fortune has come to me. Right? Because Leah was a certain type of woman, right? And if you say, why? Right, this is the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 2. Actually, yeah. Proverbs chapter 22 and 4. It says, the reward of Anuah, or humility, in the fear of Yahuwah is riches, honor, and life. He said, man, good fortune has come to me. So she called his name God. Verse 5, thorns and snares are in the way of the crooked. Whosoever guards his soul will keep far from them. And Leah envy her sister. No. No. She didn't. She didn't envy her sister. You know why? Right, Proverbs chapter 8 and verse, mostly Proverbs, let's go here. Mostly Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 17. Proverbs 8 and 17. So I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. He said, man, good fortune come to me. But look what it says. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness in the path of justice, granting an inheritance to those who love me and filling their treasuries. He's like, man, good fortune. First he hated me, he gave me a child, and then now, man, good fortune just coming to me always. But this is all a part of it, right? So this is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. Mostly Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. It says, do not envy a man of violence, and do not choose any of his ways. What do you think Leah just did? It ain't got to be a man. He said, you got men in here, but do not envy a woman, right, of violence. Why we say violence? And do not choose any of his ways. Why would you choose envy? Why would you do that? The word for envy is kanat. It means to be envied, to be jealous, to be envious. Why didn't Leah choose to be like her? It means jealous, anger, provoke, jealousy, anger, to cause jealousy. It means envious, kina. So why she ain't do it? But that word for violence is ish. That word for violence is ish. It means man, male. It means mankind. It means female. It means female. It says in contrast to a woman, a husband, a human being. He say, do not envy them. Do not practice what they do. Don't choose their ways. So Leah made a choice not to be like her. She made a choice not to pursue envy and do it through envy. She made a choice. And by making that choice, that's how we make choices and not to be envious against it. And also, this also means, this word for ish, it also means adulteress. It also means champion. And it also means, where is it? Mighty man or great man. You know, he said a great man. Don't envy a great man, and don't be envious of him, and choose none of his ways. Why? A champion, right? He said, don't even choose their ways. Don't choose it. Why? That word jealous means feeling or showing envy of someone or their achievements and advantages. Fiercely protective or vigilant of one's rights or possessions, right? But he's talking about a feeling of envy. He said jealous is like, he says envy of someone or their achievements and advantages. That's what jealous means. And then also envy is a feeling of discontent, tented and resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. That's what envy is. Discontented, dissatisfied, especially with one's circumstances. And when you discontented, that's what envy is like, discontented. It says dissatisfied, especially with one's circumstances. So you envy, right? Resentful, a feeling or expressing bitterness or indignation and being treated unfairly. That's what resentful means. He said, how many people would he say been treated unfairly? He said, that's what resentful is. I'm bitter because I was treated unfairly. Right? All that's a part of one's life, right? Going to book Bereshit chapter 30, verse 18, going back there. 30 and 17. 30 and 30 and 9. And when Leah saw that she had ceased from bearing, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to her Yaakov as a wife. And Leah's servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, good fortune has come to me, so she called his name God. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a second son. And Leah said, happy am I for women, having called me happy. So she called his name Asher. She's like, that's the eighth son. She's like, happy am I, right? So that word for happy, Bereshit chapter 30 and verse 13, Genesis chapter 30 and verse 13. Genesis chapter 30 and 13. It says, and Leah said, happy am I, right? And he said the word for happy is Ashar. It means happiness. Ashar. It means happiness. Asher. It means happiness. Right? So she was Asher. And she called his name Asher because it means happy. And you know what happens after she had a son? She would say she was joyful. And you know what happens after that, right? Going to, you say, why was she like that? Why was she like that? Right? This is the book of Ecclesiastes. Actually going to going to the book of Proverbs, actually Proverbs chapter 22. Actually 22, Proverbs chapter 17:21. Proverbs 17:21. It says, he who sears a fool gets himself sorrow, and the father of a fool has no joy. Right? A joyful heart is good medicine. Right? It is. But a crushed ruach dries up bones. It does. It dries up the bones. Now you see why. He said, why? He said, a crushed ruach dries up bones. You know what happens after that? The wicked accept a bribe in secret to pervert the ways of justice. That's what the wicked do. But you look at the discerning sets his face toward wisdom, but the eyes of the fool are on the ends of the earth. Right? He said because a crushed ruach dries up bones. He said, why would you a crushed ruach? He said a crushed ruach dries up bones. What happens when you dry up bones? Right? This is Psalms 51. Psalms 51 and 1. Psalms 51 and 1. It says, have mercy on me, O Amma Elohim, according to your steadfast love, according to your abundant mercy. Blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions and my sin is ever before me. Against you and you alone I have sinned, and done what is evil in your sight, so that you may be justified in your words, and blameless in your judgment. Right. Why do you think recall was being said, who has judged me? He said, behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Who was in sin? Recall. Who did she give with her envy and her wrestling? She birthed Naphtali. Who was in sin? She said, you're going to have children on my behalf. In sin, my mother conceived me. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Behold, you delight in truth in the inward being. This is why you need it in the inside of your heart and your mind, because you need to have your belt with it. This is why you have to have it on your belt. That's the whole armor of Elohim. You got to fight against Satan in the inside of you. He said, why? Because if you don't, he's going to overpower you. He said. And guess what? And you teach me wisdom in the secret heart, because these are secrets inside of men and women in this life. These are the chacham, these are the secret hearts of, this is the secret inside of your heart. This is the secret parts and the deep things inside of people's heart and mind that one doesn't want to see. And you teach me hakmah in my secret heart. This is how you got to get wisdom in your secret inward man or your inward being. You got to get it in there, inside of the secrets of your heart. This is how you get healed, in your secret man. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Now you are clean through the word I have spoken to you. As Yahushua said, I am the vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. He said, wash me. That's how I'm going to wash you in your secret heart. It's a secret. Nobody knows about it. But Yahuwah know about it. Let me hear joy and gladness. Now you see why Leah's like, man, I'm happy in mind. Asher, Yahuwah showed me good fortune. God. Right? But he recall just wrestling with herself. And she was getting judged, like Dan. Because iniquity, he said, in sin, Dan and Naphtali were created. But in actuality, judgment and wrestling is a part of you being born in sin and brought into this world. Because we all were born into sin. But guess what? Judgment and wrestling within yourself, that's why you need a whole armor. This war ain't going nowhere. You're going to always be doing this. And guess what? Let me hear joy and gladness like Leah. Let the bones that you have broken rejoice. He said, let the bones you broke rejoice. And guess what? Hide your face from my sins and blot out my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart. Barabale Kadashah Ruach. Kadashah, he said Barabale Kadashah Ruach, right? He said, man, creating me a clean heart. Barabale Tahor Lab, Barabale Kadashah Ruach, right? Creating me a clean heart, Elohim, and renewing me the right Ruach within me. Cast me not away from your presence. And take not your Kudash Ruach from me, because that's the Kudash Ruach you need. Have you received the Ruach since you believe? Restore to me the Simcha of my salvation, the joy. Restore unto me Asher. After you give me good fortunes, give me Asher. After I go through Dan, after I get judged and I wrestle with myself, give me Asher and give me God. Give me good fortune and make me happy again. Because you need them 12. You need them all 12 on the breastplate. You need all 12 of the tribes. You need all 12 of the sons. Matter of fact, you need all 12 of the stones. Matter of fact, you need 12 Shalakim, the 12 foundations, and the 12 gates. Not only that, you need all of it in order to get salvation. I don't need it. Yes, you do. You need all of it. They need to be within you, inside of you, inside your heart, your mind, your understanding, your being, and they need to stay there. That's the only way it's going to be able to translate over to the next phase of your life. Verse 13, then I will teach transgressors your ways. He said, once I get all that, once you get the Asher, he's like, man, look at here, I get the 8, because that's the 8th, that was the 8th son. Once I get the Asher, man, look at here. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and guess what? And sinners will return them to you. He's like, look at here. Deliver me from blood guiltness, O Elohim of my salvation, and my tongue will sing aloud of your righteousness. O Yahuwah, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifices, or I would give it. You will not be pleased with a burnt offering. Where'd you see a burnt offering and all that? Where was the burnt offering at and all that we just read? What animal they killed? These are all things that go inside a human being's heart and mind. This ain't got nothing to do with killing no animals. Nothing you saw what we just read got nothing to do with you sacrificing no animals and killing nothing. Everything they did was all based upon their own inner being and their own mind, heart and mind, their makashbar and their yetzer and their imaginations and wrestling with Satan. Just like Ephesians. That's what it was about. O Yahuwah, open my lips that mouth may declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifice, or I will give it. You will not be pleased with a burnt offering. The sacrifice of Elohim are a broken ruach, a broken and contrite heart, a crushed heart. Do not, he says, do good to Sion and in your pleasure. Build up the walls of Jerusalem, right? That's what they were doing. They were building it up. Then you will delight in right sacrifices, right? And all these things, right? Going back to Bereshit 30. Bereshit 30 and 8. Going back to 30 and 14. Right? She just had Asher. In the days of the wheat harvest, Rehoboam went and found mandrakes in the field, Leah's son, and brought them to his mother Leah. She brought it to her mother. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes, your firstborn son Rehoboam, his stuff that he found. But she said to her, it is a small matter that you have taken away my husband. She's like, it's a small matter that you did that. Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? He said, you're going to take that too. And Rachel said, then he may lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes. He's like, and when Yaakov came from the field in the evening time, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come into me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. He said, I purchased you. I bought you with your son's mandrakes. Huh? But guess what happens after that? So he lay with her that night, because I bought you with your son's mandrakes, right? You know how to say. And you know what? And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a fifth son. Right? She bore Yaakov a fifth son. Leah said, Elohim has given me my wages, because I gave my servant to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. He said, you gave me my wages. And you know what happened after that? She said, you gave me Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and she bore Yaakov a sixth son. And then Leah said, Elohim has endowed me and with a good endowment. Now my husband will honor me, because I have borne him six sons. So she called his name Zabulon. Afterwards, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Why? What's all this important? Because it's all important. Right, going to this is the book of Sirach, chapter 30, 19 through 15. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 30, 19 through 15. It says, what good doeth the offering unto an idol? For neither can it hear nor smell, so is he or she that is persecuted of Yahuwah. Why? Because that's the whole point. Right? He says, so why is this important? Because what happened with Leah? What happened with Rachel when Laban came to come under the camel? She had idols on her. She was sitting on them. So the whole time she was up there having these children, and she got envy in her heart. She raising her voice at her husband. He getting angry, getting judged. And all the children she had born in sin. And she got idols in her heart. And she got them hid the whole time. And that's the only reason people do that. Why? This is the book of Ezekiel. This is the book of Yakaziel. That's the only reason people do it. He says, so why are they doing that? Because they got idols. That's the only reason they're doing it. Right, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse 13. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 13. 20:13. But the house of Yasharal rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not walk in my statutes, but rejected my rules, but by which, if a person does them, he shall live. And my Shabaths they greatly profaned. Then I said, I will pour out my wrath upon them in the wilderness and make a full end of them. And he said, now you see how you're going to make a full end of you. But I acted for the sake of my name, that it should not be profaned in the sight of the nations. Now you see why you will be acting on people. In whose sight I had brought them out. I did it right in front of their face. Moreover, I swore to them in the wilderness that I will not bring them into the land that I had given them, a land flowing with milk and honey. Because things have to be done and prepared there. But being that one has done all these other things, Yahuwah said, you're not ready for it. I got to knock your teeth out again. The most, he says, flowing with milk and honey, the most glorious of all lands. Because they rejected my rules and did not walk in my statutes and profaned my Shabbats, for their heart went after their idols. Right? Nevertheless, my eye spared them, and I did not destroy them or make a full end of them in the wilderness. And I said to their children in the wilderness, Man, I was born in sin. I was shapen in iniquity. I said to their children that was born in the wilderness, do not walk in the statutes of your fathers, nor keep their rules, nor defile yourselves with their idols. Dan, Naphtali, Dan, Naphtali. You see what your mother recalled you? She had idols. She had idols in her heart. She raised her voice against her, kindling the anger inside of him, getting judged, wrestling with herself. Nor defile yourself with their idols. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Walk in my statutes and be careful to obey my rules and keep my Shabbats, Qhdsh, that they may be a sign between me and you, and that you may know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim. And that's what you need to do. But guess what happened? But the children rebelled against me. They did the same thing as their mother and their father. They did not walk in my statutes and were not careful to obey my rules, by which, if a man or a woman does them, a person does them, they shall live. He or she shall live. They profane my Shabbats, right? All that's a part of it. Because if one doesn't understand it, right? Right, this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 1. Ezekiel chapter 9, Yakazal chapter 9 and verse 1. Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, Then he cried in my ears with a loud voice, saying, Bring near to the executioners of the city, each with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate, which faces the north. Each with his weapon for the slaughter in his hand. And with him was a man clothed in linen, with a writing case at his waist. And they went in and stood beside the bronze altar. And he says, Now the kabod of Elohim of Yasharal had gone up from the cherub on which it rested to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed in linen, who had the writing case in his waist. And Yahuwah said to him, pass through the city, through Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and groan over the abominations that are committed in it. Put a mark in their forehead. What are they doing inside of it? And to the others he said in my hearing, pass through the city after him and strike your eye. He said, and strike. Your eyes shall not spare, and you shall show no pity. It says, kill old men, outright young men and maidens, virgins, little children and women, but touch no one in whom is the mark. So what type of mark this is? Right? And begin at my sanctuary. So they began with the elders who were before the house. Then he said to them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go out. So they went out and struck in the city. And while they were striking, and I was left alone, I fell upon my face and cried, Ah, Yahuwah Elohim, will you destroy all the remnant of Yasharal in the outpouring of your wrath on Jerusalem? He said, you're going to get us all? He said, then he said to me, the guilt of the house of Yasharal and Yehuda is exceedingly great. The land is full of blood, and the city is full of injustice, for they say Yahuwah has forsaken the land. All is important. And why? Why is this important? He said Yahuwah has forsaken the land. Right? Going back to Sirach 30 and 19. What good doeth the offering unto an idol? For neither can it eat nor smell. So he that is persecuted, so is he that's persecuted of Yahuwah. Now you see why. They were persecuted. Why do you think Yahuwah came in there? And why do you think Yahuwah gonna come into your life, in your household, in your family, in your life, in your life, and start destroying things? Because of the idols that's in your heart. Why do you think you were called with raising a voice at your code? Because of the idols that were in your heart. And it would produce envy. It produced jealousy. It produced other things within herself. And she was wrestling within herself. And it caused a lot of things to happen. Verse 20. He seeth with his eyes and groaneth, as a eunuch that embraces a virgin and sigheth. Can't do nothing. Give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thine own counsel. In your own counsel. Why? Because this is all a part of it. Because you know what? How do you afflict yourself in your own counsel? Right? This is how you afflict yourself in your own counsel. Right? This is Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 1. He said, give not your mind to heaviness, your rosh. Because you know what mind is, rosh, right? The mind is the 20th letter of the alphabet. It is rosh. It is what? Give not your mind unto heaviness. What makes your mind heavy? This is Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which clings so closely. What do you mean cling? It stays with you. It brings your mind to heaviness. Your mind will never be lightened because you got envy and jealousy in your heart and your mind. So your mind is heavy. Your rosh is heavy. The 20th letter of the alphabet, equals to 2, which is your house, your body. And sin which clings so closely. And let us run the endurance race that is set before us. Why? Because you got to keep running. This is not going to stop. He said, we run around and around. You say, you walk around the track, run around. He said, you got to keep walking. You got to keep running. This is not going to stop. Looking to Yahushua, the founder and perfecter of our Amunah, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. Totality, despising shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. Why? Because all these are important. Because what happens to grown adults when they get idols in their heart? What happens to grown adults when they get idols in their heart? Yahuwah come and hit you in your side, knock your shin out, make you a child again, that you can be taught again. That's what he does. This is 1 John, Aleph Yuchanan, chapter 5, and verse John, 1 John chapter 5. Aleph Yuchanan, 1 John chapter 5, verse 20. 1 John chapter 5, verse 19. We know that we are from Elohim, and the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. And we know that the Son of Elohim has come and given us an understanding, so that we may know him who is true. And we are in him who is true. In his Son, Yahushua Mashiach, he is the true Elohim and eternal life. Little children, children ain't got your teeth yet, your shoe. Keep yourselves from idols. Don't do what your parents. Don't do what these older people do. Keep yourself from idols. All right. Because all that's a part of it. All that's a part of it, right? Because all that's a part of it. Because if you don't do that. If you don't do that, it becomes a part of you. Right? So this is the book of Ezekiel. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 1. Ezekiel chapter 14, Yakazal. Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 1. Ezekiel, Yakazal, chapter 14 and verse 1. It says, then certain of the elders of Yasharal came to me and sat before me. It ain't gotta be, he said, it ain't gotta be, it could be male, female. When Queen Shabath came to see Shalomah, she sat there too. And guess what? And sat before me, and the word of Yahuwah came to me, the Debar, son of Adam. These men and women have taken their idols in their hearts and set a stumbling block of iniquity before their faces. They put it right in their face. And guess what he said? Should I indeed let them be consulted? Shall I indeed let myself be consulted by them? Therefore speak to them and say, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, any one of the house of Yasharal who takes up his idols into his heart and sets a stumbling block of iniquity before his face, and yet comes to the Nabi, and Yahuwah will answer him as he comes with the multitude of his idols. He's going to talk to you with the multitude of your idols, that I may lay hold of the hearts of the house of Yasharal. Because the idol got your heart. He said that's why they speak and do and operate a certain way. He said we ain't got idols in our heart. Okay, then why he said you wrestle not against flesh and blood? Because you got idols in your heart. That's the only reason. You always going to wrestle. Who put it there? Who are estranged from me through their idols. Therefore, say to the house of Yasharal, thus says Yahuwah, repent and turn from your idols. Little children, keep yourself from idols. And turn away your faces from all your abominations. For any one of the house of Yasharal or the strangers, as Greek, barbarian, Scythian, free, Yahudi, Yasharal, all the things that people say. We all want in Mashiach, right? That's what we say. For any one of the house of Yasharal or of the strangers who sojourn in Yasharal, who separates himself from me, taking his idols into his heart and mind, and putting the stumbling block of his or her iniquity before his face, and yet comes to the Nabi and consults with him, I, Yahuwah, will answer him myself. And I will set my face against that man or woman, and I will make him a sign and a byword, and cut him off from the midst of my people. He said, because you are a worthless branch in the body of Yahushua Mashiach. I am the vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. And that's how Yahuwah looks at us when you have these things. Because envy is an idol. Jealousy is an idol. Strife is an idol. Quarreling is an idol. Rivalries is an idol. Hatred is an idol. These are all idols. He's telling you worship sorrow. You worship depression. You worship anxiety. You worship yourself. These are your idols. It ain't gotta be a little statue or anything. Anything that makes you hide your envy and your jealousy in your heart, and not just say, who gonna go to his sister? If recall when it came to her sister and say, I'm envious and jealous of you. And I hate you in my heart, right? At least you actually know that that person has it in their heart. But to hide it and then not speak, and not hear and speak, then you become just like your idol, because you can't confess that that's what you are and that's what you have. I'm envious and jealous of my husband, so I can't tell him that, so I'm gonna hide and not say nothing because I'm envious and jealous of him. That's hiding your idol in your heart, because it's an idol you hide to make you not speak. And then you have a mute demon, and you be just like the idol who can't hear, speak, and talk. And you be like the idol who can't hear. He keep on hearing but not hear. Keep on seeing and not see, because they can't hear or see. Neither can they understand. Neither can they be healed. You can't heal no idol. And you become like the idol. So in order for not be like the idol, you have to say that you have this. You have to say that you are this. That's the only way you become free. Or you just be silent with your idols in your heart, which in turn will not yield you anything. You'll be an unfruitful branch, and then Yahuwah says, you know what? Eventually I will just cut you off. And that's for male and female, child too. And it says, verse 9, and if the Nabi is deceived and speaks a word, I, Yahuwah, have deceived that Nabi, and I will stretch out my hand against him and will destroy him from the midst of the people, my people Yahshua. Why? Because the Nabi ain't going to tell you that you got an idol in your heart. He going to speak to you smooth words, Naba deceit. He not going to tell you that you got an idol in your heart. That's why he said, if Yahuwah, I deceive you, because he going to make that Nabi not tell you nothing. And then that Nabi, he said, I'm going to cut him off, because he ain't going to tell you. You know what he going to do? He just going to not let you just keep doing what you're doing. He gonna nod with deceit. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You're okay. That prophetess, you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. That's what that prophetess and that Nabi y'all gonna do. They're not gonna tell you got an idol in your heart, in your mind, and they gonna keep you in that state so you could be a dead branch, and Yahuwah should cut you up. Yahuwah cut you off, and Yahuwah say, I'm gonna cut them off too. And that's what happens. Because they're not going to tell you this. And they, verse 10, and they shall bear their punishment, because you ain't warned them. That's what he told Ezekiel in 33. He said, if you see the sword and you see it coming, and you don't warn them, then guess what happens? Then the blood going to be on your hands, and I'll cut you off. You know, people twist that whole verse. I mean, you be a part of this thing. People twist these things, not even knowing. They twist in their own selves. They twist it in their own mind because of their own idols they got in their own heart and their mind. Right. And they shall bear their punishment. The punishment of the Nabi and the punishment of the inquirer shall be alike. Right? Because if Yahuwah deceive you, and you got, say the Nabi got idols in his heart, and Yahuwah deceives that Nabi, and then he don't say nothing to the person who got idols in their heart, you will say, I cut all y'all off from the vine of Yahushua Mashiach. I'll cut you off the vine, and I'll cut you off the vine, so that other people can bear fruit, and no more strife, quarreling, hatred, jealousy, envy. No more resentment, bitterness, anxiety, depression, hatred. No more of this muteness, and he said non-communication, none of that stuff, none of these rivalries and unessential words, none of this gangrene no more. I'm going to cut all this disease off. I'm going to remove it from me. Because you ain't going to be talking, oh, there ain't no salvation for you. You should get out of here. I'm going to get salvation. And I'm going to resurrect my body. And if you don't believe it, then I'll cut you off. Right? Because idols are heavy. Actually, recall, she tell you about it. The punishment of the Nabi and the punishment of the inquirer shall be alike. And because when one suffer, we all suffer. That he said that the house of Yasharal may not go astray from me. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. Nor defile themselves anymore with all their transgressions, but that they may be my people, and I will be their Elohim, declares Yahuwah Elohim. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, son of Adam. When they lay in sin against me, by acting faithlessly, I will stretch out my yard against it, and break the supply of bread, and send a famine upon it, and cut off from it man and beast. Even these three men, Nuach, Daniel, and Ehud, were in it. We all in it. These three men, Nuach, Daniel, and Ehud, were in it. They will deliver their own lives by their righteousness, declares Yahuwah Elohim. If I cause wild beasts to pass through the land, and they ravage it, we talked about this. That's why we went to Sukkah. And they do what? Because you know what wild beasts go after? Little children, the weak. And he says, and it be made desolate, so that no one passes through because of the beast, even as these three men were in it. As I live, declares Yahuwah, they will deliver their neither sons nor daughters. They alone would be delivered but the land will be desolate. Right? All this is a part of it, and that's the mind, and all this is a part of it. Right, going to this is going to Bereshit, going back to Sirach chapter 30 and verse 22. Sirach 30 and 22. It says, the gladness of the heart is the life of man, and the joyfulness of man prolongeth his days. Right? Love thine own soul and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee, for sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein. Envy and wrath shortens life. And carefulness brings the age before time. It shortens your life. A cheerful and good heart will have care for his food and diet. Because why would you want to eat envy, jealousy, wrath, quarreling, fighting, strife, hatred, fits of anger, all these things you're eating? Why would you want to eat that? Why? Right? Because that's all a part of it, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 37, 8 through 11. Beware of a counselor, and know what need he hath, for he will counsel for himself. Lest he cast a lot upon thee, and say to thee, thy way is good, and afterwards stand on the other side to see what shall befall you. Right? Going to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 30 and verse 25. Genesis chapter 30 verse 25. Genesis chapter 30 verse 25. As soon as Rachel had born Yusuf, Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my own country, my own home and country. We skipped over all the other children, but there's a reason. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, that I may go, for you know the service that I have given you. He said, you know what I did for you. I did all these things for you. But Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your sight, I have learned by divination, by my idol worship, that Yahuwah has baraked me because of you. That's what happens when you have idols in your heart. When you got idols in your heart, he said you'll learn that the person that don't got idols in their heart, that ain't doing the very same things like Rachel and Laban doing, you're going to find yourself, you be like, man, I'm being barak because of that person is here with me. Or that person is with me. That's the only reason I'm able to get and do what I'm able to do. And guess what? That Yahuwah has baraked me because of you. Name your wages. What do you want? and I will give it. And Yaakov said, you yourself know I have served you, and know your livestock has fared with me. He said, you know. Look what I did. For you had little before I came. He said, before I came, you had nothing. As soon as I walked through the door, as soon as you met me, as soon as you came to my house, as soon as you saw me and had a conversation with me, as soon as you saw as soon as you saw me, as soon as I picked you up as soon as I picked you up and brought you to my house. You know what he said? You had little before I came, and it has increased abundantly, and Yahuwah has baraked you wherever I turned. But now, when shall I provide for my own household? He said, how am I going to do that? And this is how people get stuck in places. He said, when I'm going to provide for my own household? I'm sitting here providing for your household, for your people, for your family, increasing your wealth, in your life, in your fame, in your fortune, and the things you have, and all your things you doing. But when will I provide for my own stuff? Because nobody wants you to do that. They want it just for them. And guess what he said? Also, and he said, what shall I give you? And Yaakov said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again pasture your flock and keep it. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. They shall be my wages. He said, let me do that, right? So my honesty will answer for me later. What? My honesty will answer for me later. When you come to look into my wages with you, every one that is not speckled or spotted among the goats, and the black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen. Right? It'll make me a thief. Because you know the commandment is, thou shalt not steal. Laban said, good, let it be as you have said, as you spoke. But guess what he said? But that day Laban removed the male goats that were striped and spotted, and the female goats that were speckled and spotted. Every one that had white on it, and every lamb that was black, and put them in charge of his sons. And he set at a distance 3 days' journey between himself and Yaakov pastured the rest of the Laban's flock. So Laban wasn't giving you everything. Laban still found a way to shorten the deal. And he said, do as you have said, but let me shorten the deal right in your face. And then I'm going to practice falsehood, and I'm going to keep it in my secrets. Because it was a secret that he did it. He ain't do it in his face. He did it undercover, in secret. And he got idols in his heart. Because he got idols in his heart. That's why he put it 3 days' journey away. He put it 3 days' journey away. But guess what? Everything that he did was for his own self. But not even knowing. Back to Sirach 37 and 8. Beware of a counselor, and know what need he has, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast a lot upon thee, and say unto thee, that way is good. Yeah, good. Do. And what Laban said? He said, good. That way is good. And afterwards he stand on the other side to see what shall befall thee. He said, good. Do like you said. And he did it. But guess what? Verse 10 says, consult not with one that suspecteth thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee. Right? That's what Jacob did. Because Jacob didn't hide his counsel. He literally told him, and Laban envied him. He said, man, your way is good, man. Just go ahead and do what you're going to do. But yet his idols in his heart make him slide a deal again and continue to swindle and extort. And that's what people do today, male and female. That's what they do. Verse 11, neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous. Recall? She got idols in her heart. Neither consult with a woman touching of whom she is jealous. Neither with a coward in matters of war, nor with a merchant concerning exchange, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with a slothful for any work, nor with any hireling for a year finishing his work, nor with an idle servant in much business, hearkening not unto these in any matter of counsel. But Laban took the sheep and he put it a 3 days journey, right? And people say, why he did that? Because everything he did, people have no idea, right? Right, this is the book of Matthew. Yeah. Because everything they do, people think they did something they did not. Right, this is Matthew. Mark, go to Mark chapter 10. Mark chapter 10. Mark chapter 10 and verse 32. Mark chapter 10 verse 32. And they were on the road going to Jerusalem. And Yahushua was walking ahead of them. Right, he was in front. So he was like leading what? He was like walking. He was like recall when she was leading the sheep to go get water. Right? It was the same way. He was like the shepherdess. Recall, wasn't he? He was in the front. Yahushua walking ahead of them, and they were amazed. They were looking at him. And those who followed were afraid. And guess what? And taking the 12 again, he began to tell them what was happening to him, saying, see, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the son of Adam will be delivered into the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. That's what Rosh means. The Rosh means chief. And they will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Goyim. He said, they're going to deliver him over to the Goyim. And they will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And he was going to where? To Jerusalem. Isn't that where we read in Ezekiel, that's where they say you're going to kill both old, young, children, male. He said you shall kill. Who do you think they were doing it to? What do you think it was about? It was about him. Why do you think he was sacrificed and killed? For you. Because y'all set up idols in your heart. Why do you think he was walking like Recall, leading the sheep to go get water? Why do you think he was doing that? Because you see what Recall had in her heart? She had idols in her heart. She had idols. She had idols in her heart. Why do you think he was doing it? He was canceling out her sin. And they will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise. Why do you think Laban took the sheep? Took him 3 days journey away from your code. He's a swindler. He got idols in his heart. Why do you think Yahushua had to die? Why do you think he had to get up on the 3rd day? Why do you think he had to rise? He had to cancel out all this swindling and stuff that people were doing over the years, of thousands of years, and things that you read about. He was literally canceling it out and bearing the sin of all those people. Why do you think he got out 3 days? And he said, I'm going to rise. He had to do it. He had to do it. He said, I come in the volume of the book. It's written of me to do your will, Yahuwah. I got to do this thing. If Yahushua didn't do all this, what do you think would happen? You think it'll happen? He had to do it all. Verse 35, and James and Yochanan, the son of Zebedee, came up to him and said, teacher. Because we only got one teacher. Because he the vine. We just a bunch of branches on there. We don't do nothing. He ain't going to do nothing for us. Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. Huh? We want you to do everything. These bunch of sons saying, yeah, we want you to do everything we ask you to do. How many teachers are going to do that today? Sons come and say, I want you to do everything we ask you to do. Right? You know what he said? And he said to them, what do you want me to do for you? And you know what he said? What do you want me to do? And they said to him, grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left. He said, grant us to sit at the one on the right and the one on the left. He like the sheep and the goat. Because the scapegoat, people think the scapegoat weak. Scapegoat bear all the sins of people when he gets sent out to camp. Scapegoat is a strong being. He said, somebody put all the sin on you and send you out of the camp and make you a reproach and a proverb and a byword to people. That's a strong individual. People say, nah, that ain't a strong individual. Yes, it is. Because that's what Yahushua did. But he said, grant us to sit at your right hand and your left. That's what sheep do. He said, I'm going to separate the sheep from the goat, right? From the spotted and the speckled. Right? And get what he said. And Yahushua said to them, you do not know what you are asking. You don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Are you able to drink of the cup that I drink? So you're going to be able to be the scapegoat? You're going to let people throw sin on you and then send you out of the camp and make you a pervert and a byword to people and call you an outcast? You would do that? Oh, nah, you can't do that. So you can drink of that cup. You can walk this thing out like I did. Or, he says, or be immersed with the immersion with which I am immersed. So you're going to be able to go through the fire, be immersed in fire. And go through the furnace of affliction like Yeshayahu 48 said. I've chosen you to and refined you to the furnace of affliction. You're going to be able to go through all that. You're going to go through what Aydah did, your Cole did. You got to go through all that. You're going to be able to fulfill it all. You're going to be able to understand it all. You're going to be able to do it. And they said to him, we are able. You know how people say, we talk. You know, talk is a lot, right? Everybody can talk. And Yahushua said to them, the cup that I drink, you will drink and will be, and with the immersion with which I am immersed, you will be immersed. How are you going to do that? All that immersion Yahushua had put him on. He said, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant. He said, you're going to go through all of the things that I went through. You're going to have to analyze and understand it all in this totality of the Torah. You're going to have to understand it on this level. And you have to operate in it and make the decisions based upon what you hear and what you see and understand in the Torah. By searching the scriptures daily, making sure those things are so. By being prudent and meditating on the bar human night and fulfilling all of it and having good success in both side of Elohim and man. And you're going to have to walk this thing out just like I did. But to get eternal life it is not mine to grant, but it is for those from whom it is prepared. Because it ain't for everybody. And when the 10 heard it, what's the 10 letter of the alphabet? Yod. When the 10 heard it, they began to be indignant, and Yaakov, James, and Yochanan, and Yahushua called to him and said to him, you know that those who are considered rulers, or you mean Rosh, of the Goyim are masters over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. That's what they do. You know, we just said, be not envious of a great man. They great. They great men, right? They exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. He said, man, not like you. We don't do that. We don't do that around here. But it shall be not so among you, but whosoever would be great among you, you must be your servant. And whosoever would be first among you, because that's what Rosh is, You know, the Rosh is, it means first. Among you must be a slave of all. You must be a servant of all. He said, man, you got to be a servant. For even the son of Adam came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life for a ransom of many, right? But he said, don't do that, right? So that word Rosh means head. That's the 20th letter of the alphabet. It means head. It means first. It means part, chief, beginning, mind. It means knowledge. Because that's what happens. It means discretion. It means self, you, individually, authority, top. It means captain. Why? Because all that's a part of it. Because that's a part of your mind, your Rosh. It's the 20th letter of the alphabet. He was the 2. And you know, the mind controls your body, your house, your tent, your Mikdan, your Mikdash, your Ahal, your tent, your temple, which is you. And one has to take control over that. But all that's important, because if one doesn't do it, then we're going to find himself acting like Laban recall, acting like, he said, people worship idols, and you're going to find yourself not giving soft answers, stirring up anger. All these are a part of it. We're going to Bereshit chapter 30 and verse 33. So my honesty will answer for me later when you come to look into my wages with you. Everyone that is not speckled or spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen. And Laban said, good, let it be so as you have said. Skipping over to verse 37. Then Yaakov, 37. Then Yaakov took fresh sticks of poplar and almond and plane trees and peeled the white streaks in them and exposing the white of the sticks. He exposed the white of the sticks. What happens when you take a branch off and then you start to cut it and you expose the white? It has medicine inside of it. There are tree barks and trees that if you cut the streaks of the actual branch, it has medicine inside of it. Some of it is flammable. Some of it is edible. But at the same time, you don't want everybody to know that, because you know human beings, we eat everything. And there ain't gonna be no trees left. Right? But at the same time, and Yaakov took fresh sticks out the poplar and the almond and the plane trees and peeled the white streaks in them, exposing the white of the sticks. He set the sticks that he had peeled in front of the flocks in the troughs, that is, the watering places, where the flocks came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the flocks bred in front of the sticks, and so the flocks brought forth stripe, speckled and spotted. And Yaakov separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks toward the stripe, and all the black in the flock of Laban. He separated them. He put his own droves apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, Yaakov would lay the sticks in the troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the sticks. But for the feebler of the flock, he will not lay them there. So the feebler would be Laban's, and the stronger Yaakov's. So you see how you did? You know, all black and all white, he gave them to Laban, but he said those are the feebler ones. The ones that were spotted and speckled, he said those are the stronger ones. You want to know why? You want to know why? Why would the spotted and speckled be stronger than the all black and all white ones? You know, the Laban one, he ain't wanting the spotted or speckled. Why would he have them stronger? So the feebler would be Laban's and the stronger Yaakov's. Thus the man increased greatly and had large flocks, female servants, male servants, camels, and donkeys. So what happened? How did he make the speckle? Right? They were stronger. Right? You know what they say? Man, you spotted up, right? You know what they say? But let's see. But these are all things that people don't understand. We almost finished. I'm done. I only got 2 more slides of it. Right, so this is Romans chapter 15, verse 1. Romans 15 and verse 1. We who are strong have an obligation to bear the failings of the weak. Yaakov had the spotted and speckled ones. They said they were more stronger than the ones who were weak, who were all black and had all the white on. He said, y'all were more stronger than them. Why? Because Yahuwah put medicine inside of the troughs where they were watering and they were drinking. And he separated the Laban's flock from Yaakov's flock. But the ones that he had birthed, Yaakov, you seen. He said, why would they be spotted and speckled? We who are strong, having obligation to bear the failings of the weak, and not to please ourselves. Why? It says, let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up. For Christ, Mashiach, did not please himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of those who reproached you fell on me. Why do you think Laban put all that task on him? Why do you think the stronger ones were the speckled and spotted? Because they were the ones bearing all the transgressions and the sins of the weak. And by bearing the transgressions and sins of the weak, they were the stronger. Just like Yahusha said, shall you drink of the cup that I've given you? So you can drink from that trough, that watering trough right there, with the branch that's in it, that's cut down, that's put in there. So you can drink of that. You can bear the sin, you can bear the transgressions of somebody else and still walk. You can still do that. You're going to drink the cup that I have too. And you're going to be immersed in the same immersion that I have too. But to sit on the right and the left, that's not for me to do. I can't grant you that. Guess what it says? The reproach of those who reproach you fell on me. For whatsoever was written in the former days was written for our instructions. What do you think that was written? He said, oh yeah, the spot and the speckle were stronger than the ones that were black and the ones that were Laban's flock. Because Laban's flock worshiped idols. That's why they were weak. They worship idols. Because they're weak. Because they worship idols. He's an idol worshiper. So for whatsoever was written in former days was written for our instructions, that through endurance and through the encouragement of the scriptures we may have hope. The strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. You should. For Mashiach bore our reproach. He bore it all. Even the envious and jealousy that one has within one's heart. But get what it says. Verse 5, may Elohim of endurance and encouragement grant you to live in such harmony with one another. Harmon. In accord with Mashiach Yahusha, that together you may be with one voice. Kabod the Elohim, the Father of our Master, Yahushua Mashiach. One voice. Akkad Harmon. And get what it says, therefore welcome one another as Mashiach has welcomed you for the kabod of Elohim. For I tell you that Mashiach became a servant to the circumcised to show Elohim's truthfulness in order to confirm the promise given to the patriarchs. Huh? We just read it. To confirm the promise given to the patriarchs. When you're called a patriarch, how are you going to understand that when Laban did what he did? How are you going to understand when he put the medicine in the water in the watering trough and they drank from it? How are you going to understand him separating the all black and the white from the speckled and the spotted? And they were stronger than the ones who were actually not that way. He said, why? Because when you actually have a struggle within yourself like Yahusha did, you're going to be wrestling. Matter of fact, you're going to be going through a lot of things within yourself. Because Mashiach didn't come to call the righteous through. He came to call the ones who are sick. He came to get those people. He said, I ain't sick. Then I guess you don't need them. I ain't got no sin. Well, I guess you don't need them. I ain't do nothing wrong. I guess you like Laban and recall. You like lying. Right? But everybody, he said, get what he says. In order to confirm the promise given to the patriarchs, and in order that the Goyim might go kabod Elohim for his mercy. Well, you think that was mercy to you recall and Laban and the children of Yasharal worshiping? Do you think that ain't no mercy? Man, that's so much mercy. Think about this. If you did all that in your life, then Yahuwah say, you know what? I have mercy on all y'all. Because of my son fulfill all the Torah. That's how much mercy that is. Confirm the mercy as it is written. Therefore I praise you among the Goyim and sing to your name. Why? Because he let them in. All Yasharal and the strangers. He let everybody in. And again, it says, rejoice, O Goyim, with his people. Why? Because Yahusha has literally was trying to destroy all the idols within people. And those who got him, he said, you ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. You ought to, you stronger. You the stronger of the people. So you should be able to bear a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You should be able to bear that. You tell me you can't bear that? Yahusha bore all. So you tell me you can't bear that little bit? That little bit of envy and jealousy and strife? You can't bear that little bit of things that they do? You can't bear it? I don't want to be speckled and spotted with that. I don't want to be speckled and spotted. I want to be but I want to have that thing right. Right? You see that? So you can't bear nobody's stuff. So you can't bear their envy and their jealousy. You can't bear their raising their voice. You can't bear that. They scream with a loud voice, come down from the cross and we'll believe in you. You can't bear that. Now you say you immerse in Yahusha and you put him on. These are all the attributes of the things that Yahusha had to bear. They smacked him, punched him in the face, kicked and screamed. They beat him down. Matter of fact, they beat him down so much to where he was just like, man, the reproaches that broke in my heart. So you can't get your heart broken by reproach. Because that's the same thing Yahusha did. Right. He had to bear the reproach of all of us. So you can't bear that little bit of reproach. That's both male and female. And child. Because children fighting each other too today. They can't even bear, he said you can't even bear the little bit that Yahusha did. He bore the reproach, and he was able to take it all. Yaakov was swindled for 20 years. You swindled for 1 or 4 years. And Yaakov still maintained his integrity all through it. You only can do it for 4 years. He said, man, he swindled me last year. 2 years ago, 20 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year. You can't even bear 20 years. He said, so how strong are you, really? He said, you can't be the scapegoat, can you? You can't have sins put on you and then send you out. You can't be the scapegoat. Because that's just too much to bear. Too much to carry. Well, Yahushua carried it. This Romans 15:10, it says, and again it says, rejoice, O Goyim, with the peoples. And again, praise Yahuwah, all ye Goyim, and all the peoples extol him. And again, Yeshayahu says, the root of Yeshai will come, even he who arises to rule the Goyim. He gonna be the head. He be the Raj. And in him will the Goyim hope. May the Elohim of hope fill you with all joy and peace. Believing, so that by the power of the Kudash Ruach, you may abound in hope. Yahuwah, please don't take your Kudash Ruach from me. Because he said, a broken and contrite heart, you will not refuse. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he make you bear reproach of other people? Even in the body of Yahushua Mashiach today. So he won't take your Kudash Ruach from you. That's how Yahushua got it. How did Yahushua get the Ruach? Let me guess. He didn't have to bear nothing? No, how you gonna get a broken contrite heart? You gonna have to get your heart broken. How you gonna get it? You gotta get your heart broken, you gotta get things done to you, you gotta get all these things done to you and only keep the Ruach. How is you gonna keep the Ruach? How is you gonna keep it? This is Romans 15:14. I myself am satisfied about you, brothers and sisters, that you yourselves are full of goodness, filled with all knowledge, and able to instruct. For the time you ought to be teachers, you need one to teach you again. You should be able to. You shall instruct one another. You should be able to teach. You need one to teach you again. But on some points, I have written to you very boldly by the way of reminder, because of the con given to me. Why? Because that's all important. Because if one does, he said you should be a teacher, but you need one to teach you again. Why? Because it's important, right? This is the book of Odes of Solomon, chapter 11, 1 through 16. My heart was pruned and its flower appeared. Why? Because that was on bear fruit. He prunes it that it may bear more fruit. Why do you think the body of Yahushua is pruned? And the flower appeared. Then Khan sprang up in it and produced fruits to you for Yahuwah. How are you going to get fruit? For the Most High Yahuwah circumcised me by his Kudash Ruach. Then he uncovered my inward being, my secrets, and inward being toward him, and filled me with his ahab, love. He filled me with the first Ruach, fruit of the Ruach. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only son. That whosoever believes, Aman, in him, believeth no. Who know him. Whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And his circumcising became my salvation. And I ran in the way of peace, shalom, in the way of truth. Because you got to have your belt with truth. You got to have it be fastened with it. From the beginning unto the end, I received his knowledge. And I was established upon a rock of truth, wherein he has sent me. And speaking waters touched my lips from the spring of Yahuwah generously. And what happened after that? And so I drank and became intoxicated from the living water. What happened? That does not die. Have you drunk from the trough that your Cole put the stick in? And he put the branch in, he peeled it down to the water, and he put it into the water. Have you drunk from it? Because you know how they talk about alkaline in the water, and you put something in the water and you make it sweet, and it has healing properties in it. It ain't dead water, it's a living water. You gotta put something in the water to make it alive. Or you just drinking dead water. Even the rivers that you drink from have minerals in it. He said it has all types of dirt. People say, I ain't never drank dirt, clay, gold, silver. It's all in the river. It all flows. It's all a part of your drink. You eat dead water, they filter. I'm gonna filter out the water. All that stuff need to stay in the water. Why? Because that stuff need to stay there. You ain't supposed to take it out. It's a part of it. It don't die. It's living water. That's how you make the water alive. You gotta put stuff in it. It says, and my intoxication was not with ignorance, but I abandoned vanity. And guess what he said? And I turned toward the Most High, my Elohim, and was enriched by his favors. And I abandoned folly, the folly cast upon the earth, and stripped it off, and cast it from me. He said, I cast them idols out of my heart. I stripped it from me. Right. And Yahuwah renewed me with his garment and possessed me by his light. He said, be renewed in the ruach of your mind. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And guess what? And from above he gave me immortal rest, and I became the land, like the land which blossoms and rejoices in his fruits. And Yahuwah is like the sun upon the face of the land. Just like the sun makes things grow, Yahuwah's like, I pruned your vine, your branch, that it may bear fruit. And if you say you will accept the pruning and the renewal of your mind, then you will bear more fruit. And guess what it says? And Yahuwah is like the sun upon the face of the land, and my eyes were enlightened, and my face received the dew. Because you got steam. And you immediately, as soon as you immediately put your face in steam, it just, all the pores open up and your face starts to shine. And you become wet like dew. And ain't nothing, no rain hits you. It just starts to become like dew. And guess what? And my breath was refreshed by the present fragrance of Yahuwah. And he took me to his paradise, wherein is the wealth of Yahuwah's pleasures. Oh, Yahuwah has given me good fortune. Therefore I call his name God. Right, this is the book of Sirach 3:17 through 23. My son, go on thy business in Anua, Sanah, Kanah, in humble humility, in meekness, in gentleness. So shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. You be Dawood. You will be beloved. Yourself. You will be Dawood. You be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, because he said, don't envy. He said, don't be envious. Don't have consuming envy, and don't be envious of great men and women. Don't be envious of great men and women. Why? The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. So they're going to have to get humble. They're going to get Anu Anah. As long as you stay Anu Anah, say, don't worry, you be coming down where I'm at anyway. So there's no point in me being envious and jealous of you. You great. You got all that greatness. But guess what? You got to come down to be humble. And I'm already humble. So therefore, you're going to be humble. You're going to come down here too. And we'll all be humble together. But for Anu Anah, Anu, Shafal, Shakar, Sanah, we'll all be humble together. A humble, nice little family together. But I know you're up there and you feel like you're somebody and you feel like you're something, but eventually you come down. You'll come down to the Anu, Anah, Shafal. You're going to be down here eventually. So the greater thou art, the more humble thyself. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. That's the only way you stay. You stay there. You won't ever have to go up. He said, you'll never have envy and jealousy of nobody. And then you won't get angry and raising your voice and getting all mad about other people and what they're doing. Many are in high places and renown. Man, there's a lot of people, they exercise authority over a lot of people. And they call them benefactors. He said, but not so with you. We ain't doing that around here. Everybody, Anu, Anah, Sanah, Shafal, Kana, right? You stay down there, right? Shikar, right? You be in the right. Don't lift your head up, stuff like that. Many are in high place and renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the Anu. For the power of Yahuwah is great. Now you see why he said, don't envy great men. Because the power of Yahuwah is great. Because if you envy a great person and somebody who's great, right, and you desire in their ways, and you know what happens? And you get envious and jealous, and you get hatred in your heart, and you start fighting like them, shooting bombs and shooting missiles, want to throw things up, want to rob the stove, want to tear the door off, right? And all these things that people get ready to do for no reason at all, not even knowing. The only reason you're doing it is because they're looking at the fact that you beating people up and they paying you to do it. So they paying you money, and then you going out beating the brakes out of people on the street corner and doing things like that. So why are we going to support people who do that? So we know what we're going to do. We're not going to pay you no more money. Because you guys are beating us up and kicking our behind every time we pay you. So what's the point of me paying you? That's how they're looking at you. So therefore, Yahuwah is like, let me humble them down. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly, seeking not out things too hard for thee. But he said, verse 19, many are in high place and renowned, but mysteries are revealed unto the Anu. For the power of Yahuwah is great and is honored with the lowly. Shafal. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. Because if you search for things that are above your strength, you're going to find out, I can't carry that thing. And you know, when you try to carry it, you're going to be heavy. Because you know, envy is above your strength. Because it outweighs wisdom. Jealousy is above your strength. Because it outweighs hukmah. Strife outweighs wisdom. Quarreling outweighs wisdom. Plots and schemes outweigh wisdom. Sin outweighs wisdom. It's above your strength. You are not, it's above you. If somebody do it to you, you got to bear it. Like Yahusha. Because you are strong. You know how I say? The strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. See, I done been there, done that, man. I had to carry a whole bunch of that. I can bear that. I can carry that thing. But if you weak and you trying to bear it, he said, I'm weak. I'm weak in the moon. He's like, I can't carry that thing. This person just did jealousy, envy to me. He done said it. He said, F you, blank and blank, blank. He like, if you ain't strong, boy, you gonna be like, blank you blank and blank, blank, blank. Right? You ain't got your strength level up. They do envy, you do like your code and plot and scheme and steal your money and make you look like a fool and make you a power and a bower and send you out, make you the scapegoat of the whole congregation, a whole people, or a whole place, and they send you out and they slander you all on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram for 10, 15 years. And you ain't strong, boy, it's gonna be a tough thing for you. It's gonna be a tough year, 15 years, tough 5 years. But you ain't gonna never get self-control if you weak. But they who are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. You gotta bear it. Because Mashiach didn't please himself. He said, the reproach of those who reproach you, Yahuwah, it fell on me. And guess what? But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. So he said, you gotta think upon with reverence. You know what reverence is? That's like awe. Like, you gotta think about it. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. When you see that secret, he said, it's not needful for you to see that. That way above your strength. Because as soon as you see it and you weak, man, Satan gonna take over your mind. You're gonna be like testament of God, right? You're gonna be like, man, you turning small things great. But you done took that little secret, boy, you done turned it into a whole 15, 20, 30 year thing. Be not curious in unnecessary matters. Why? Because he's trying to save you from heaviness. Because as soon as you start being curious and unnecessary, it's unnecessary. That's an unnecessary thing. I can bear that. Here it is. And I know you need extra money. And I know you need extra. Here's another on top of it. So you don't have to worry about it another year or a month, right? I give you this and I'll give you more because it's just going to create unnecessary matter for you. So therefore, I'm going to create something that's not going to be unnecessary for you. So nobody won't feel a certain way. So that one can still be in the same mindset, in the same mind. For more things are showed unto thee than men and women to understand. Right? Right. It's all more than men and women understand. I'm going to leave with this. This is Essene of Truth. Right. 7 folds of peace, shalom. 7 folds of shalom, peace, and it says, Barak is a child of light who is wise in mind. For he or she shall create the Shamy'ny. The mind of the wise is a well-plowed field. Why? It's just like a well-plowed field. Because a fool don't plow in autumn and he be at harvest, he ain't gonna have nothing. Nothing. It's the mind, that's the Rosh. The 20th letter of the alphabet. We use the 2. The mind of the wise is a well-plowed field, which giveth forth abundance and plenty. Why? Because you're going to be fruitful and multiply. He said, I'm the vine, you the branches. Every branch of me that doesn't bear fruit, my Father prunes. My Father cuts off, right? It don't bear fruit. But if it does, he prunes it that it may bear more fruit. Which giveth forth abundance and plenty. For if thou showest a handful of seeds to a wise man or woman, he or she will see in his mind, in his mind's eye, his Rosh, his iron, a field of golden wheat. That's all he gonna visualize. He said, you know how he says manifestation. All I see is a field of golden wheat in my heart and my mind. You know golden wheat, but you can make, you know how much bread you can make? Lakam. You're gonna be what? Making bread. You're gonna be eating bread all the days of your life. Boy, it's gonna be so good. You're gonna have them 2 loaves every Kal Shabuah. But you're gonna have bread morning and evening. Right? You're gonna know exactly what to do. A field of golden wheat. If thou showest a handful of seeds to a fool, to a quarreling, fighting, strife, jealousy, envy, hatred, complaining, liars, right? Plot schemes, falsehood, right? You show it to a fool, he will see only that is before him and call it worthless pebble. He has, man, I gotta make right and do all that stuff I did. I gotta plow my field and go through and cancel out and remove these things from me. Man, that junk, man, what are you talking about? Some Rosh and shit and all this stuff and Zerah and Pari. You know Pari start with Pa. He said, you ain't even get there yet. You don't even know your Pa. You can't even stop what come out of your mouth. He said, man, you ain't even get there yet. First, you gotta get to 10, because you gotta get to 10. That's the number one thing. You gotta get to the yard. Once you get to the yard, you get to the calf, right? And you get to your 2 hands. Once you get there, then you get the pie. You ain't gonna get there. I'm telling you. It's not a game. People think they ain't gonna get there. No. And the field of golden wheat. And if thou showest a handful of seeds to a fool, he or she will see only that which is before him, and call them worthless pebbles. That's why Yahushua was in front, and they were in awe of him. Remember, they were walking. He was in front of them, and all they saw was like, man. And as the field of the wise man giveth forth grain in abundance, and the field of the fool is a harvest only of stones, he says, stony heart. They want to stone you. Well, you heard, you know, Yahushua say, man, you said you are Allah. They wanted to stone him. They want to stone you, but they not, man, a stone in the ground, they picking that thing up, throw it at your behind. He said, what? It is a harvest only of stones. So it is with our thoughts. Now you see where your stones are. People say stones are in the mind, in the consciousness. As soon as you start talking about envy, jealousy, hatred, you start talking about quarreling and fighting, you start talking about reconciliation, you start talking about these things, you start talking about forgiveness and gentleness, anu, anat, anua, safal, you start talking about humbling and humility. Only thing people want to do is stone you, exceeding the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees. Man, come on. Let's be real here. It says, in the field of a fool is only a harvest of stones. So it is with our thoughts. As the sheaf of the golden wheat lies hidden in the tiny kernel, so the kingdom of Shamy'ny is hidden within our thoughts. It's secret. It's sacred. You know how it says Chdsh is sacred? When you put those 9 fruits in your mind, it's sacred. It's a malkuth. And guess what it is? And then you get a 10. Right? After you get self-control, then you get that. But it says, hidden within our thoughts. If they be filled with power, for the power of Yahuwah is great. they filled with power. The teaching of the Mashiach is foolishness to them who perish. As 1 Corinthians writes. But those who are saved, it is the power of Elohim. It's this foolishness. It's a fool. It's like, man, them worthless pebbles. What are you talking about? Some sheep and some goat, and him leading some sheep and the shepherdess and doing all this. What is that? It's all a fool. He said, the power, but it's filled with power, right? And love. First fruit of the Ruach. And wisdom. Hakam. Of the Malachim of the Shamy'ny Father, so shall they carry us to the heavenly sea, Shamy'n sea. But if they be stained with corruption, hatred, and ignorance, they shall chain our feet to pillars of pain and suffering. No man can serve two masters, neither can an evil thoughts abide in the mind filled with the light of the Torah, the law. He who has found shalom with the mind, the Rosh, that's what the Rosh is, the 20th letter of the alphabet, equals to 2, have learned to soar beyond the realm of the Malachim. Hold up. What is Adam that you so mindful of him? You made him lower than the heavenly, beings, but you crowned him above us. What is this that you have done? You talking about they soaring higher than me? Than the Malachim? Hold up. Yahuwah, I'm Mikal. I'm Uriah. I'm Raphael. I'm Gabriel. What are you talking about? I'm so. Never mind. Never say that. Yeah, I'm above that. Hold up. You made Adam from the dust, from the Adama, and Nafak, Neshama. You gave him your off, and you gave him your creative intellect, and you put a crown on his head, and we helped create him. And you literally put him above us. How is this even possible? And the only way you can achieve it is with shalom in mind. You're not going to be able to do it. He who has found shalom with the mind, he said, he who has found shalom with a vacation on a nice little thing, with the nice little hammock. Because you can still be there and still have the wrong mindset. You can still be a drunk clubber, you can still sleep around, you can still hate each other, you can still hate people, you still have jealousy, envy, strife. You can still do that on vacation. But if you have found shalom in the mind, peace of the mind, you show before the realm of the Malachim. Know this peace with thy mind, shalom. Desire this peace with thine heart, your lame, your love. Fulfill this peace with your body, your temple, your ahal, your mishkan, your mikdash, your body. Because if you don't, then you ain't gonna be able to hear Satan. Because when you're in a peaceful place in your mind, you can hear Satan. You be like, man, you can see Satan, you can hear Satan, you can hear him, you can see him everywhere. You be like, man, I don't want nothing to do with that. But then you understand why. That's the only way you can see him. Because he loved chaos. He loved to take shalom, and he loved to take that peace away, so you can't see him again, so he can work his chaos. Then you gotta get yourself down to the point where you can get to peace, to where you can see him again, and you can actually eradicate him. You can't do that when you're in chaos. When you don't have the peace within yourself and self-control, there's no way you can see Satan. Shaitan. That's why when anger is kindled, envy is present, it only creates wrestling, and it only creates judgment within yourself. And you're going to receive judgment after you receive the knowledge of the truth. For after you receive the knowledge of the truth, there remains no sacrifice for sin. And you know what happens after that? Here comes Satan, right? And he going to take full advantage. And who will say, only just don't destroy them, right? But everything you have is delivered into your hand, right? And all these things take place because you come in his jurisdiction. And his jurisdiction you don't want to be a part of. So we walk in a newer anah, right? So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at a lot of life. We look at the true light. Of course, there's a lot more. But we look at the necessities of life, not to be envious and jealous, not to stir up anger within oneself, neither to cause it within oneself because of the things that one is only struggling within oneself. For there are many situations and things that one can go through, and each one has a specific understanding that one needs to understand on the level that it needs to be understood to be able to overcome it with shalom and peace and tranquility, and with the right debar to be able to destroy it. But we live in this world, we are not of it. For to be of the world is to be of the jealousy, envy, strife, and quarreling, and fighting, and hatred, and jealousy, and rivalries, and adultery, and fornication, and all these things, and worshiping idols, and other gods. That's to be of the world. We are not of it. But as long as we live in the world, we're going to walk in the light of the Torah, and to walk in the light of the mind, and fulfill shalom with our body. So we look in this world, we look at everything that Yahuwah has done, and everything He's getting ready to do. And through everything He's getting ready to do is all based upon His debar, and His understanding of the truth, and your understanding of the truth. For as a man is, and as a man thinketh, so, O woman, so is he. So you are the way you think. Now the way you think manifests your actions. And your actions create things in other people based upon your own actions and your own thoughts. So we look to walk in forgiveness, and we look to walk the hard way. Because the easy way is the way of hell and Sheol. The hard way is to go in the inner man and the inner being and do all the work within, that you may become wise on the outer man, that you may see and you may understand and guard your gates in your heart and your mind and your thoughts in your mind, your 2 eyes and your 2 ears and your mouth, and all the things with wisdom, hakma, and to know that wisdom is afar off for those who are fools, but is very near and close to those who cleave to Yahuwah. For if you be near Him, He said, if you were blind, you will have no guilt. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. And that's the whole point. But to be blind is to be healed. And to understand that you need somebody in front of you to be in awe of Him, even as Yahushua was leading them. And knowing that He's in front and you are behind, and you see Him, and you can ask Him any other questions. Hey, grant us to be on the left and the right. But He said, that's not for me to give. But all is, you're going to drink from the cup. Matter of fact, you're going to be immersed with the immersion that I have. But at the same time, many are called, but few are chosen. So we live in this world, we are of it. We say, my son and my daughter, go on our business in ainu and meekness, and you be beloved of Him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek. Mysteries are revealed unto the ainu. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the Edoms.